Hello everyone, welcome to lesson number 19 of Beginner C++. This is a continuing tutorial on learning C++. My name is Damien, I will be your host. Today we are going to be talking about functions once again. You will notice that we are talking about functions again. We did this last lesson, we're doing it this lesson, and if I don't get everything I need done, we'll be doing it again next lesson. So, today we're going to start doing a little bit more focus on pass by reference and pass by value. So without any further ado, I'm going to create a quick function. Actually, I'm going to create a function prototype. So a function prototype goes before main in your program, and we can do something like that. So what this tells the program is that there's going to be a function called add5, and it's going to take an int as an argument. That's all we tell it. It returns an int, it's called add5, it gets an argument of one int. We can add multiple things here. We can tell it it's getting an integer array, we can tell it it's getting double, when you do it up here, you have to specify everything that's going into it. So it's not limited to just one argument. But the reason you do that is because a lot of the times people like to see what's going on in main, because more often than not, main is what's calling your functions. Unless you call functions from within functions, which can get confusing. So, the easiest way to create a function from a prototype is just to copy, paste it, and then add in brackets like that, and then name your variable. So in this case, I'm just going to make int y, and in main I will make int x, and we'll make int x equal to 0. And I'm going to do 3 things, and they're going to all be very similar sort of things. So actually, I'll just do 2 right now. So we'll do cout add 5, and we'll pass in x like that, followed by an endl. And I'm going to do, actually, yeah, we'll do 3 things. We'll do add 5 x and x. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. So before I run this, it might be a good idea if you guys want to pause this and kind of predict what each of these things will do. What do you think this is going to output? So for each of these 2 cout statements I have, what do you think is going to happen? Alright, so assuming you guys took a moment to stop and contemplate that, I'll tell you. So in this case, cout is going to pass x into the add5 function. Add5 is going to, I should have probably done this beforehand, that wasn't really fair that I didn't, and then asked you what was going to happen. So when I asked what was going to happen, that should have been there. So what's going to happen is x is going to be passed into the function add5, and once it's passed in there, its name will change to y. Y will have the value of 0, and it will be returned as 5. Since that is inside of a cout statement, you will see a cout of 5 followed by a line, being ended. So like return being hit at the end of a line. When we do add 5x, without it being in a cout, what happens is basically the same. X gets passed into add5, and it returns the value of 5 because we started at 0, and then it's not getting saved anywhere. So we just have, this just resolves to 5, it's not saved at all, and it just gets blown away. So then we output this x right here, and it's going to equal 0. So we do that, and as you can see, we end up with a 5 for this first line and a 0 for the second line. Now, in the event that we actually wanted to assign x so it equaled 5, based off of the return of this being 5, we could do x equals add x plus 5, and then when we run this, we will get 2 5s. So, I want to continue on and show you guys a different way to do this. What a lot of people get confused about when they see something like this add x or add 5 and then pass in x, they think that when you do something like, let's say I changed this around slightly and I did y plus equals 5. So they see that and they think that, you know, so this got passed to 0, it's a 0 here, now it equals 5, they return it as 5. And even if this is not assigned like that, right, they now think that x equals 5. But that's kind of where things get a little confusing. In C++, there's 2 different ways to pass variables as arguments. There is passing by value, which is what we're doing here. And what pass by value means is that we're taking an exact copy of the value that's inside of x, and we're passing it to the function. We're not passing x itself. And passing by reference, which is extremely similar, is where you pass the actual value itself. So let's do this. Add 5 ref. Now it's an int followed by an ampersand. That ampersand means reference. And we're going to do the same thing here. Add 5 ref. And the ampersand always goes before the variable. I actually don't think that you need one here. If we specify it in the prototype, I'm not 100% sure if you need it there. But anyways, it shouldn't matter too tremendously much. So we're going to do this like that. So this is going to equal that floats and does nothing. And then we're going to copy this exact code over again. And we're just going to change this to add 5 ref and add 5 ref. So now, what did I do? Okay, yeah, so I did need to make that an ampersand there. Okay, so again, you know, a lot of coding is not exactly like seeing what works, but it's not 100% memorization of syntax either. So in this case, that is not going to be a 5 that floats. So let's run this and see what happens. We'll add in a quick cout here. Okay. So when we pass by reference, we get back a 5, the same way that we did the first time, and then we get back a 10. So what's happening here? So this first time that it gets passed into ref, it's still 0. So it goes in as a 0 and gets returned as a 5. And so when it gets returned, x has its value set to 5. Or it doesn't even do that. It gets its value set when this happens. So when y gets increased by 5, x is also getting its value increased by 5. On this line, I'm sorry. And then we go to this line and we pass in add ref, or add 5 ref of x, which now starts as 5. It gets increased by 5 again, and then it doesn't, you know, the return here doesn't do anything, but the value inside of x is now 10 because it's been increased by 5 again, and it's been passed by reference. So when we output it, x is now equal to 10. So as you can see, when we ran this, we see that 5, 0, 5, 10. So the kind of takeaway here is that there's certain things you can do in C++ to make your variables persist in different ways. Now, I'm going to comment all this code out, and I'm going to do this because I want to show you guys something. So what I want to show you is a quick example using arrays. So let's do int add 5 to all. We're just going to do int, little lines like our little brackets for an array, and we'll make an array called my array, and I put the brackets in the wrong spot because I've been programming more in Java lately. And we're actually going to make this a void. So this actually isn't going to return anything. So immediately right now, you guys are probably thinking, well, it's not going to return anything, and you passed by value. And unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a rule breaker. So let's do int my array 5 equals, and we'll just set some values. We'll say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, just like that. And we'll pass this to add 5 to all, my array. And then we'll come down in here and we'll just set up a quick for loop. We'll say int I equals 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. And then we'll just do my array of I. Actually, let's just call it an array. I just want you guys to see that there doesn't need to be any correlation between the name here and the name here. You can name it something completely different. That's not how C++ is doing this. And so we'll say plus equals 5. So we're setting the value in, the 0th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spot and just adding 5 to it. So we're adding 5 to every spot in our array. So in this case, that would be 6, 8, 10, etc. So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to make a quick for loop here. For int I equals 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus, and we're going to do cout I and L. And so when we run this, we would expect to see 13579 because again, this is being passed as a value. There's no ampersand here. There's no ampersand here. So it should, based on what I've taught you, work exactly like what I've said. And unfortunately, because C++ is such a consistent language that does everything the same regardless of variable, that's exactly what happens, as you can clearly see. No, so clearly I forgot to do my array of I. And in this case, we run it, and that is clearly what happens, as you can see. It totally passes by reference, even though we never told it to. In case you didn't realize, that was sarcasm leading up to that presentation there. So in C++, there are certain things that are passed by reference natively. And so the things that are passed by reference are arrays and objects. I think pointers are passed by reference as well, because that's something we'll get into in a little bit. Okay, so I think that the most important stuff got taken care of in this lesson. One thing that you can't do in C++ is, let's say I wanted to return an array. I wanted to go like this. And then I wanted to return an array. That's an error. They won't let me do this. They'll say, expected a thing, we didn't expect you to return an array, and that's fine. Returning an array is something we're going to cover at a later point, and you don't actually get to return it as an array. As for homework, homework is everybody's most favorite part of this class, I know. I enjoy giving it to you guys and correcting it. So, using an array, I'll mark this as homework. Using an array of strings for days of the week and an array for days. You can choose what type you want here. You can use int, you can use double, etc. What I want you to do is I should probably get caught up on typing. And an array. Okay, for days, your choice on type. In the months of the year. So basically, you know, January's 31, February's 28, etc. What I want you to do is figure out the last day of a user input month for the year 2015 or 2016. So the user has to be able to specify a year, and based on what year they specify, you need to output the last day of the month for a month of their choosing. So if the user says 2016 and they want to see how many days are in February, obviously that's a leap year. You need to account for that. Alternatively, they want to see 2016, they want to see July. You know, obviously, you know, that's not going to change. So you need to figure out a way to do that. That's your homework. Good luck, have fun, and I will see you guys again next time.